Hi there, boys and girls. How are you today? I am loving the sunshine. In fact, I felt like in order for me to do the best message for you today, the best lesson, I needed to sit by a window where I could see the sun. I hope you got a chance to play outside today, and when you go home that you can too. We've been talking about Jesus, and we talked about him being a teacher and a healer. And then last week we started talking about Jesus being a miracle worker. Jesus could do things that other people couldn't, boys and girls, things that people hadn't ever seen before. And everybody wanted to understand why, and there really was just one answer, and you and I know it. He was God. He was God's son here on earth, and he could do amazing things. Last week we talked about him calming a storm and telling his disciples, why were you afraid? Today we're going to talk about a time that Jesus fed a lot of people. Now, I don't know if you've been to a big family gathering or to a restaurant, you've seen a lot of people eating. Well, those places are prepared for that. But Jesus' story is a little different. Our story comes from our beginner's Bible today, and it's called Jesus Feeds Thousands. Now, this is a really cool story, and here's why. It appears in all four Gospels. Not every story that we talk about appears in all four: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This story was in there, and that's how impactful it was on the people. People talked about it for years and years after it happened. Here's our story. Jesus feeds thousands. Jesus and his disciples were tired. They needed a quiet place to rest. So they got in a boat and pushed off from shore. But a crowd followed the boat. So there we have Jesus, the boat. They're so sleepy. You see all those people on shore? They're waiting for Jesus. Over 5,000 people had come to see Jesus. Now, I want you to stop what you're doing, and I want you to look around the room. Look this way, that way. The whole room would have been filled with people, and they would have been out into the hallway and down the hall and in all the classrooms. As a matter of fact, they probably would have filled the entire building. That's how many people were following Jesus around. They had heard about him, and they wanted to see him. Even though he was tired, Jesus wanted to help them. He climbed out of the boat, and he began to bless and heal many people. There's Jesus getting out of the boat, going to the people. Later that day, the disciples said to Jesus, "It's getting late. These people should go home and eat dinner." See, they were there all day waiting and listening and watching for Jesus and what he would do. And the disciples, they were hungry, and they figured if they were hungry, then the other people were probably hungry too. They needed to go home and eat dinner. But Jesus said, "We can feed them. See if anyone has any food to share." Boys and girls, 5,000 people? Jesus wants to suddenly feed 5,000 people? The disciples found one boy. He had 5 loaves of fish. I'm sorry, 5. That doesn't make sense, Miss Kelly. He had 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And it was his own lunch. But they took the boy to Jesus. There he is, see in the basket? His fish and his loaves of bread. Now listen to this part. The disciples asked, "How will so little food feed this many people?" Jesus said, "You will see. Have the people sit down." Then Jesus took the bread, and he gave thanks to God. See, he lifts it up. He's looking to God, and he says, thank you for this bread. His disciples gave bread and fish to everyone. To their surprise, there were 12 baskets left over. Yeah, not only did everybody eat and their bellies were full, but there were leftovers. See all those baskets of food there? That's all the extra food after 5,000 people ate. All I know is that's not something that I could do. At least not alone. And even with my strongest prayers, boys and girls, I think I'd have trouble feeding 5,000 people. The boy had fish, and he had bread. Oh, okay, so they weren't this kind of fish. They were real fish that you catch. All right, you got me. But he had fish and he had bread, enough for himself. And Jesus fed lots and lots of people with it. It says a lot about the power of God, right? And the disciples didn't believe it could happen. I didn't think it could happen, but it did. Lots of people saw it. Lots of people experienced it, and they told others about it. And that's why it's in our Bible so many times. People knew Jesus was special. Some people didn't like that, boys and girls. Our lessons coming up are going to get a little bit harder. We're going to learn about Jesus going to Jerusalem and about Jesus dying on the cross. That's what Easter is. He was an amazing person, and people didn't understand him. And sometimes when we don't understand something, we decide we just don't like it. We didn't even give it a try. Well, it's a good thing Jesus was who he was and that he did what he said he would do. I can't wait to share those stories with you next week. We'll have 2 stories next week. I don't know if it'll be 1 video or 2, but I know you have Easter, your spring break coming up, so I want to get them in there for you. All right, let's say a quick prayer. Dear God, thank you for today. Thank you for my friends, for my school. Thank you for my family and for my home. Thank you for the spring weather that reminds me, after the winter, new things come. I love you, God. Thank you for loving me. And we all say together, amen. I hope you have a blessed week. I will see you very, very soon. Have fun playing out there. Bye-bye.